Yes, welcome back to the program. I'm grateful you're here. When Hendrick Motorsports unveiled their new performance and recovery facility in partnership with Atrium Health, it marked a pivotal moment in NASCAR. Not just a new gym, not just upgraded recovery tools, but a public declaration that human performance is now infrastructure. Strength training, hydrotherapy, sauna, cold plunge, sports medicine integration. Now that's leadership. And today we celebrate that shift because when one top tier organization raises the bar, the entire sport benefits. But here's the question I want to explore. If this new benchmark for physical performance is this, then what's the next evolution in high performance health? So let's talk about that facility and why it matters. Let's acknowledge what they're doing right. Integrative sports medicine means injury prevention becomes proactive. Rehabilitation happens faster. Training is sport specific, and recovery is scheduled, not accidental. You see, a pit crew is an explosive athletic unit, and a driver endures things like heat, G-force, cognitive stress, and sustained focus for hours. Having dedicated strength programming, recovery tubs, sauna access, performance analysis space signals maturity in the sport as they have always done. But every modality carries nuance, and nuance is where championships are protected. So let's talk about a few of these modalities they have. Cold plunge, it's very powerful, but context matters. You see, cold exposure is popular for a reason, and it's been used in sports for decades. It can actually reduce acute inflammation, improve circulation, support mental resilience, trigger norepinephrine release, so that's adrenaline. But here's what doesn't get talked about enough. Cold plunging is a stressor. It's a controlled one, but still a stressor. If someone has a dysregulated cortisol rhythm, or adrenal strain, or chronic sympathetic dominance, or poor sleep architecture, cold immersion can amplify stress load instead of balancing it. It can feel energizing while quietly pushing the nervous system further into overdrive. Now, that doesn't mean cold plunge is bad. It means it must match the athlete's internal physiology. And without biological assessment, that's simply guesswork. So the fully portable cold immersion system, yes, a portable cold immersion system that we recommend to our high performance health clients over at Victory Lane Wellness is the TheraFrost unit. And you can find it at jeffreymort.com/resources. Now, the next modality that I want to talk about is sauna. And this is almost universal, but still nuanced. Sauna is a little different than cold plunge. Heat exposure tends to support cardiovascular conditioning, enhance circulation, promote detox pathways, improve heat shock protein expression. So a little opposite of the cold immersion, which actually creates or improves cold shock proteins expression. The sauna works with heat shock protein, and it also supports longevity markers. So for most individuals, sauna is super beneficial, but even here, nuance matters. Are we talking about traditional dry sauna? Are we talking about steam sauna, infrared sauna, near plus, mid plus, far infrared, infrared combined with red light therapy, performance optimization, or recovery from illness or injury? Sauna can be used in so many different ways. You see, infrared penetrates tissue differently than traditional heat. And red light supports mitochondrial signaling and so much more. And layered correctly, it becomes cellular recovery, not just sweat therapy. Overdone, though, it can dehydrate, it can deplete minerals, it can increase fatigue and actually be counterproductive. Again, it's a stressor, and context determines outcome. In my home, for myself personally, and for my children, and for clients at Victory Lane Wellness, we recommend the Thera 360 Plus portable, yes, portable infrared sauna with red light therapy by Therasage. We'll talk a little bit more about that because that's absolutely one of my favorite game-changing modalities. Now, sports science plus strength training, this is the visible layer. So, strength training and sport specific conditioning are foundational. There's no argument there. But strength without cellular efficiency has its limitations, which brings us to the layers that often remain invisible. So, I want to talk about this invisible performance enhancement called PEMF. This is recovery at the cellular level. We're going to talk about something here that doesn't look flashy, but it operates at a very deep level. PEMF stands for pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. At its core, PEMF delivers low frequency electromagnetic pulses that interact with the body's cells. Why does that matter? Because every cell in your body runs on electrical charge. Science demonstrates you are a bioelectromagnetic being. You have cells, that's the biology. You have an EKG, that's the electricity, and you have an EEG, that's the magnetism. And when cells are injured, inflamed, or stressed, their membrane potential drops. So think of it like a battery losing charge. PEMF has been studied for its ability to help restore cellular membrane potential, which may support improved circulation, reduced inflammation, accelerated tissue repair, enhanced mitochondrial function, nervous system regulation. And in motorsports environments, that's very relevant because drivers experience vibration load, micro trauma, sustained muscular tension, repetitive G-force strain. And pit crews, they experience explosive load and joint impact and soft tissue stress. You see, PEMF, it's not a workout, it's not a stressor, it's a little bit different. It's a recovery amplifier, and it works in the background, supporting cellular communication and tissue repair without taxing the system further. And here's where it becomes especially interesting. PEMF may support neuro recovery. Research suggests that pulsed electromagnetic fields can influence neuroinflammation, cerebral blood flow, and neural signaling efficiency. So, in a sport where concussive forces are a real risk, supporting brain recovery at the cellular level is not fringe. This is strategic. This is engineered. It's dynamic. Now, nuance again matters because more intensity is not always better. Frequency and waveform matter. Supervision and proper programming matter because the goal isn't stimulation just for stimulation's sake. The goal is restoration. In a high performance health environment, PEMF becomes another quiet advantage. Not visible like a cold plunge, not dynamic like oxygen therapy, PEMF can be stacked with sauna sessions, used while you sit or even while you sleep. Cellular performance is where durability lives, and durability wins seasons. The PEMF mat that I recommend, it's the full-size TheraPro 7 modalities in one by Therasage. And again, you can find that at jeffreymort.com/resources. Now, let's go layers deep here. Layer one, I want to talk about exercise with oxygen therapy. This is known as EWOT, EWOT, and specifically adaptive contrast therapy. So I want to talk oxygen here because oxygen, it's not just about breathing. It's about energy production. Exercise with oxygen therapy, you may have heard me talk about this before in other podcast episodes. EWOT involves light to moderate exercise while breathing oxygen-enriched air at its foundation. Instead of depriving the system like hypoxic training, EWOT saturates it. And why this matters Every cell in the body relies on oxygen to produce something that's called ATP, adenosine triphosphate. Inside the mitochondria, you may remember those as the little powerhouses in our cells. When oxygen availability improves during controlled exercise, we may see things like enhanced mitochondrial efficiency, improved oxygen utilization, faster lactate clearance, quicker recovery between efforts, improved cognitive clarity. And for drivers operating under heat stress and sustained sympathetic activation, oxygen saturation can support both muscular and neurological resilience. For pit crews performing repeated explosive efforts, it can accelerate recovery between bouts. Now, let's elevate the concept further. Supervised adaptive contrast therapy. This involves alternating controlled hypoxic exposure with oxygen saturation. So, depleting the body of oxygen, and this is in strategic intervals now, depleting the body of oxygen makes those cells open up. They're starving for that oxygen, and then we saturate them. And this is not random, this is not extreme, this is adaptive. And the principle is very, very simple. Brief oxygen deprivation stimulates adaptation, followed by oxygen saturation, which enhances recovery and mitochondrial output. We stress the system, then we restore the system. And when supervised and properly sequenced, this can improve endurance capacity and oxygen efficiency without chronically overloading the nervous system. And here's where it becomes especially compelling in motorsports: concussion and traumatic brain injury. Even mild concussive events can impair cerebral blood flow and mitochondrial function in the brain. The heart and the brain have the most density of mitochondria in the entire body, and that's important to maintain those. Oxygen delivery becomes less efficient. Neural inflammation lingers when we have a concussion or a traumatic brain injury. So, supervised oxygen contrast strategies may help to support cerebral oxygenation, neurovascular regulation, mitochondrial recovery, reduction of oxidative stress burden. And it's not a cure, this is support strategy. But in a sport where even subtle cognitive drift matters, supporting brain oxygen becomes performance insurance. And as always, context matters. If an athlete's stress hormones are dysregulated or recovery capacity is compromised, sequencing becomes everything. Because performance is not about adding stress, it's about knowing when to stimulate and when to restore. That's championship physiology. There are many EWAT companies to choose from. However, Live O2 stands above the rest for their research, for their support, and for their quality of equipment for sure. Now, layer number 2, hydrogen-rich water. It's common knowledge that hydration, it's baseline, and hydrogen-rich water is taking that baseline to the next level. Now, you might be thinking, Jeff, H2O already has hydrogen, does it not? Well, yes, of course. We're talking about enhanced molecular hydrogen from a medical rated device that's been studied for reducing oxidative stress, supporting mitochondrial function, modulating inflammation, enhancing recovery markers, and over a long season, oxidative stress accumulates. Travel, adrenaline, sleep disruption, heat exposure. Hydrogen acts as a selective antioxidant. It's not blunting adaptation, but supporting balance. So think of it as upgrading the coolant system in a high-performance engine. Same fluid, smarter chemistry for an engineered performance advantage. So for molecular hydrogen generating device for your home or your coach, we recommend the Kangen K8 is our top choice. And for a portable bottle option that you can actually take anywhere, is the H2 Go Plus by Therasage. It's a great option. And you can find those resources on our resource page as well. So layer number 3, this is where the secret sauce is. Integrative performance lab testing. Now we get to the deepest layer here. Integrative performance lab testing, this is where bioindividuality lives because two different drivers on the same team, they can eat the same meals, they can train the same program, they can sleep the same hours, and have completely different internal responses. So with these advanced lab testing kits, we can look at mineral balance. We can look at cortisol rhythm and hormone regulation. We can look at organic acids for mitochondrial output. We can look at gut integrity, detoxification ability, inflammatory markers, IgG food sensitivities, environmental toxicity load, and biological age, and so much more. Let's talk about biological age for a minute. You can be 28 chronologically and 35 biologically. So your body is actually aging at a more rapid pace than you're making laps around the sun. Or a person can be 42 chronologically and 34 biologically. You would want to know if you were aging backwards biologically, would you not? So biological age reveals if recovery is recovery keeping pace with your workload? Are you adapting or accumulating wear? IgG food sensitivity testing adds another layer. Sometimes athletes can eat clean, and I'd say clean in air quotes, but certain foods create low-grade delayed inflammation unique to them. And this could be something that they deem healthy, like spinach or beets or pineapple is another common one. Actually, the most common is gluten, eggs, and dairy. And these are not dramatic reactions. These are subtle ones, the kind that slightly disrupt sleep or slightly slow reaction time or slightly elevate stress hormones, gradually steal your energy and your focus. Over 38 races, slight becomes, well, significant. So advanced integrative lab testing ensures that you're not over-exercising into depletion. You're not aging prematurely under stress, and you're not inflaming yourself unknowingly. This is precision performance. All the advanced lab testing we use will be in the show notes or at jeffreymort.com/shop. So here's the empowering truth. Teams do not need a 3,500 square foot or 35,000 square foot facility to implement things like exercise with oxygen therapy, cold immersion, sauna, PEMF, hydrogen-rich water, or integrative performance lab testing. These are scalable, accessible, portable, yes, even for your motor coach. Strategic, personal, or team shared investments. And high performance health, it's not about square footage, it's about internal alignment. You might be wondering, Jeff, how does this all fit together? Well, I'm glad you asked. So you may be surprised to know that after a 30 to 40 minute strength training or a cardio session, you'll only need an additional 20 minutes for a full high performance health recovery and longevity protocol. And it goes together like this. You do your workout and you drink 16 to 20 ounces of hydrogen infused water during your workout. And then you begin with a 15 to 20 minute session of the exercise with oxygen therapy, adaptive contrast. That can be on a stationary bike, a rowing machine, even a treadmill. And then after that 20 minutes of EWAT, you move into just 1 to 3 minutes of cold immersion. You don't need any more than that. It doesn't have to be super cold. Right around 58 degrees is great. 53 to 58 degrees of cold immersion for 1 to 3 minutes. And then go directly into the sauna for 20 to 30 minutes while sitting on the PEMF mat. This is stacking your health hacks. This affordable equipment can be set up in minutes at your home, your personal gym, the race shop, or even in your coach or hauler to make high performance health part of your champion's edge and longevity plan. So the bigger picture here, Hendrick's facility represents the evolution of visible performance. The next evolution is invisible performance. Outside optimization plus inside optimization. Muscle plus mitochondria. Strength plus stress regulation. Recovery modalities plus biochemical precision. The teams that integrate both will not just win races, They will extend careers and build legacy. They'll protect assets and sustain engineered dominance. Every championship organization invests in equipment. The next championships will be secured by those investing in physiology. Celebrate the benchmark, then elevate the conversation. This is Breaking Boundaries for Champions. We'll see you next time.